Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Future Successors Podcast, where the future is now. Today, I'm joined by Christal Jordan. How you doing today, man?
I'm great. I'm great. Excited to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, man. See, we didn't even know we was going to get you on here, but we got you on here, man. Thank you for coming. Now, you're the founder of Enchanted Branding and Public Relations. Tell us about how you founded that and how that came about.
So I knew from the time I was probably in high school that I wanted to do public relations and advertising. I was really good at writing and speaking, not so great at math and science. And I enjoyed writing. I enjoyed being creative. And so when I went to my guidance counselor and was looking at like careers that would be a good fit for me, public relations was one that really kind of stood out to me because I love being able to use words and ideas to like influence public opinion. So I went to college, went to University of Oklahoma, and I got a degree in journalism with a minor in, it was public relations. Organizational communications was my major. My minor was PR. So I was writing for newspapers, working for the ad club, doing all these different things. Went to work in the corporate America for a while. And then I moved to Atlanta, Georgia. And in Atlanta, Georgia, entertainment was king. That's all that was going on here. It was difficult to find a corporate job, but I did find a job with a small PR firm that was independently owned by a Black woman that looked just like me. And it just inspired me so much to see, because I had always looked at working for like this big agency where probably I was the only one. I remember a interview that I had for one of the jobs I had in Oklahoma. I was the only Black person that was even in that field. They actually told me in the interview there are no Black people in PR. So I was used to that. So seeing a Black woman that owned her own company, that was like inspiring. So she hired me. I worked for her for almost 2 years, and then she decided to close her company. But by that time, I had seen the blueprint, and I had built some relationships, and so instead of finding a job, I decided to just go on my own and start my own company.
Yes, let's take a couple steps back, maybe just a little bit.
Okay.
But where are you from exactly?
I originally am from Ohio, and then I moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, growing up. Most people think of Tulsa, and they hear the name Tulsa, and they think of Black Wall Street because that was a very big part of the history of that city. I went to a historical Black high school there,
Yes.
Booker T. Washington High School, that was part of a magnet program where you had to have a certain GPA and a certain, you had a test in order to get into the school. So getting into the school, I had a lot of pride and, in doing that. It gave us a lot of, I think, connection to the school. So it was a great landing place to prepare for college. So coming from a predominantly Black high school where you're taught to have pride, we were taught Black kids are smart, we are the cream of the crop. All that was instilled in us. So when I went to the University of Oklahoma, where there was less than 1,000 Black students compared to 23,000 whites, I was on fire. Like I was, part of the Black Student Union and, a leader, a writer on campus, because when you really instill like leadership in young people, they don't forget it. And I think it really impacts them in a different way. So that's kind of my background. And then I moved to Atlanta where it was like, oh my God, I was able to see all that was planted in me in high school in action, right, in living color, because you had so many entrepreneurs, business owners, executives that all looked like me, and so I realized this was a beautiful place that I wanted to stay and, raise my children here. So that's what I did.
Yes, so how do you define success?
That's a really good question. I'm a writer, and
Yes.
so I literally just interviewed Erykah Badu a few days ago, and we were asking her, how does she define rich? And it's interesting because her answer was a person that's at peace with themselves, right? A person that is present. And I think for me, what I've learned when I first started in this business entertainment industry, you see all the trinkets that define success. You see the cars, you see the jewelry, you see the designer clothes. But as you become a part of it and you see that so many of those things don't make people happy, it does make me realize that to me, success is being able to have the freedom to do what I love to do, and to do it in a way that impacts people in a positive way. And if I can do that, which I think I am doing, then that's my definition of personal success. Now I have, benchmarks that I want to reach, right? But I think overall, at this point in my life, I really want the work that I do to be impactful, specifically for Black women, but even on a more holistic level for our community. And, ultimately the world. I think my priorities are Black women and then the Black community. But ultimately, I do want to leave just a better impact on the world, because we're just in times where people need something positive.
Now, as a successful business owner, the base level, hey, all you need is hard work. That's just the base. That'll get you maybe through the door.
Maybe, yeah, through the door.
What's that extra sauce that's needed to get you just past through the door?
Yeah.
And to get you in those places that you want to be?
Honestly, I believe that for me, the sauce is humility, right? Because I feel like you need to, hard work without wisdom, can make you like a hamster on a wheel, just spinning, it's just spinning your wheels. I'm a hard worker, right? But there was so much I did not know about entrepreneurship. I'm great at writing and being creative, but I didn't know anything about taxes, about payroll, about, making sure that, your paperwork is set up appropriately with the state and with the government. I knew none of that. And so a lot of times we're too prideful or we're embarrassed because we don't know. But really, those are the most expensive lessons to learn. When you don't ask and you don't have the humility to say, I really don't understand, trust me, that is much more expensive than just swallowing your pride, swallowing your ego, and realizing, I need help. This is something I don't do well. My uncle, who is he's like a business development person. He helps people develop their entrepreneurial dreams. And he sat down with me one day because I was really discouraged because I'm not good at math. So the accounting for my payroll and all that was out of whack, and I got in trouble with the IRS. And he said, Christal, what are the things that you need to be successful as an entrepreneur?
Yes.
There were like 9 things, right, that I needed. So I'm creative. I know how to manage people. I'm really good at communication. But the things that I was really, that I didn't do well was managing finances and then also doing payroll. So he was like, so why would you assume that all those other things that you do well are not worthy, are not valuable? They are. Just hire someone to do those things, get some help. And so I think that you have to have the humility to realize where you have weaknesses and be comfortable with asking for help in those situations. I think that's the secret, because if you look at people that we all deem successful, they're all people that network and partner and work with other people that are the best at what they do.
Yeah, so you spoke on a little bit of my next question, but so when I look at somebody that's successful and I say, hey, I want to be like them, we see like you said, the cars, the clothes, the jewelry, and where they at, but we don't see the days where they don't feel like they want to work, or the rapper doesn't feel like he wants to rap, or he's in a depression state that we don't see.
Yeah.
How do you handle those ups and downs as a founder of your own business?
Yeah.
And can you share a moment where you were resilient and you just pushed through and you just kept, whether that was seeking God or anything like that, where you just pushed through and you just saw it through?
Yeah, I want to say, that's really true. That first of all, I would suggest anyone looking to be successful, do not focus on the material things as your gauge, right?
Yes.
Because if you look at people that have fancy cars or foreign cars or, and designer clothes and go on trips, you don't know you don't know the formula, right? And so a lot of times that formula is scam or is due to scam or a lot of other things. So I would say, don't focus on the material things, focus on the journey, right? Find people that are doing what they love to do and that are successful enough to be able to impact other people. So I would say somebody that's able to drive a Maserati, in my opinion, is not as successful as someone that's able to employ 3 people, because that's how you actually impact community, right? By actually providing opportunities for others so that we all can pull up. Of course, everybody wants to, like some Maserati, but I just think that that's not a sign of success, because that could be a sign of you got a big check one day, but you're not really doing a lot. You could have won the lottery. You could have had, there's a lot of different things that can equal material wealth. But I think for me, I remember being a leader is not easy, right? Owning your own business is not, it's not as sexy as people want to make it seem on Instagram. So at the time I had 4, this was kind of like midways in my career, I had 4 staff members, and my job as a publicist and publicity firm, we get paid based on clients. So this was in November, and I had 3 clients that were major that had not paid. So I had to still pay my staff. And I remember I had no money, and all of them were late at the same damn time. And so I was really discouraged, and I felt like, well, maybe I'm not good at this. This is ridiculous. But the reality is, because of the way my business was set up, I didn't have a lot of overflow. So those checks were actually paying my staff. So I had to take out a payday loan to pay my payroll.
Yes.
And as a result, I couldn't pay myself. You have to pay yourself last, because these people come in and trust you and work for you.
Yes.
So I had to tell my children, I have 2 children, I was a single mom. I had to tell them that I wouldn't be able to get Christmas gifts that year. We wouldn't be able to have a big Christmas, because I had to pay the people that work for me first. I could not tell them that you're not going to get paid because my clients haven't paid. So I think that's like the snapshot of what leadership is. Leadership is putting yourself last and really, really being there for the people that trust you and that are, a part of what you're building. And it's not necessarily, a lot of people think, well, I don't want to work for somebody else. I don't want a boss. I don't want no one telling me what to do. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. So I had clients that were telling me what to do, and then I had to delegate to staff. And then if my staff messed up, guess who gets blamed for that?
You.
Me. So really, leadership is all about going back to that word humility. And if you're not able to serve others, then you're really not able to be a great leader.
Yes, you have a segment on Fox 5's Good Day. How did that opportunity come about?
Well, it's interesting because I have a mentor, Joyce Littell, who's on the radio. And I was very frustrated because I had been doing, I hosted, I'll go take you back a little bit. I hosted a television show in college, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then I kind of gave that dream up and focused on being a publicist and writing. And then one of my mentors told me, hey, you should be doing this again. So he gave me an opportunity, and I started hosting a show for Rolling Out. But no other opportunities were coming, and I was getting kind of discouraged. Like, what am I doing this for? Like, it's not going anywhere. And I had taken clients to Fox 5 as a publicist, one of the, big news outlets here. And one of my friends was a producer there. And she said, hey, I've been seeing these segments that you do for Rolling Out. Now, keep in mind, I was doing segments for Rolling Out, which is a different outlet. And then I was doing a segment for my YouTube channel that wasn't paying me anything because I didn't have a lot of followers. So I was doing a segment called a PR Minute on my YouTube channel. And actually, that's what caused my mentor Rolling Out to hire me. He saw that I was doing these segments because I just got so tired of people not understanding what PR was. So I started doing something for free that was really just about me having a passion and love for what I do. That led to Rolling Out, which led to a producer at Fox 5 seeing that and saying, hey, you should do something on celebrity relationships for us because we like what you've been doing. But I think it's important to know I didn't go to them and ask for an opportunity. I was able to let my work show up for me.
Yes. So you talked about the mentors that you have. Mm-hmm. Now, most people say, hey, I don't need nobody. I can do it on my own. But sometimes that's not the case.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that's ever the case.
Yeah. So how is that relationship with your mentors that you have impacted where you are now?
Wow, I've had mentors throughout my life, and I think that's exactly why I'm where I'm at right now. I think one of my first mentors, I had a charm and etiquette class for middle school girls, and one of my mentors worked for a community center, and she kind of helped me get the program together because I knew that I had this passion, but it was kind of unbridled passion. She said, just this is how you write up this curriculum and do this. And so I did it. And then later someone stole some of it from me. And she said, Christal, no one can ever steal your creativity. So don't worry about the fact that someone stole it. You can always write another one because it came from you. And so my first mentor was a Jewish woman that was my boss, for a community council that I worked for. But I've always been open enough to ask for help and to talk to people. I have mentors that are female and male. Some of my biggest business mentors are male because I was able to see that, when you see someone that's an entrepreneur that is not much older than you and they're doing something on a high level, I wanted to know, how are you doing that? So a lot of times I would just pay attention and ask questions, and that relationship kind of came organically. But one of the things one of my mentors told me is that you never ask for something without offering something. So all the mentors that I have, I've done something to serve them,
Yes.
and that's resulted in me having access to them and a relationship with them.
Yes. Award-winning author.
Thank you.
Your book, excuse me, Mom, I'm sorry. How to Win When Shit Happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
The writing process on, hey, did you wake up one day, hey, I want to write a book? Or was it a plan? Was it a process? How long did it take? What was the cream of the crop up to you writing the book?
Well, I have 3 books,
Yes.
and that's my second book.
Yes.
I would say I was a kid that was like, I was like a hybrid nerd. So I was a cheerleader, but also I was like always buried in a book somewhere, right?
Yes.
So I loved books always, and reading was what I did for fun, which is probably not fun to a lot of kids, but I would go get just a big stack of books from the library, and I would try to get them as thick as possible because I love the story to keep going. It was an escape. You know, I grew up from very humble beginnings, and so a lot of times that was the fun that I had. My mom didn't have a lot of money, but I could read a story and get lost in it. So I think I had a love for literature really early on. I wrote my first novel in 4th grade.
Wow.
I wrote a 400-page story about me marrying one of the guys from New Edition and all my best friends marrying the rest of the group. So I wrote all the time. But it wasn't until I went to college and I got hired as a community relations manager for Barnes & Noble, I started working with authors and organizing book signings. And so I remember my husband at the time said, why would you not try to get your own book published? You have like 3 books on the shelf, but you're focusing on other people. And so I was like, you know what? You're right. But I still wasn't really motivated to do it. And then my father died. My father died from a drug overdose unexpectedly. And I had no way of dealing with that pain, right? And so I just started writing. And I wrote this story about a girl that grows up without her father and how that impacts her. And I sent it out, and I got a deal. And that's how the first book was published. So that was great. I got an advance. They accepted me. I got an advance. I got an agent. I got a 3-book deal. I thought I was on my way.
Yes.
Well, then I developed ovarian cancer. I got sick. I got divorced. I missed my deadline, so that book deal was taken off the table, right? So I don't even think I was sad about that because there was so many other things going on in my life that were heartbreaking that I couldn't really think about the fact that I just lost my deal. But and then I focused on writing and really throwing myself into my career. So my first book came out in 2006. My second book didn't come out until 2020. So that was a 14-year gap between books because my focus was different. When 2020 happened, my company was doing horribly, as most people's. I mean, my job thrives on being able to touch people and interact with people, from clients doing interviews to doing appearances. Everything was shut down. And so I decided to look at all the successful people that I had been able to be around and create a formula of how they were able to become successful. And that's how I wrote How to Win When Shit Happens. I just pulled from interviews I had with people, experience I had with people, top producers, actresses and actors, and representing clients like TLC, people that are, super successful. And I've tried to figure out, what can I tell the average person that wants to experience that level of success? And I think the biggest thing was they believe in themselves. And even if they don't believe in themselves, they tell themselves they do until they believe it. And so that book is really about affirmations to help you create a really strong mental immunity so that you start to believe in yourself every day on a very minimal level, and that translates to everything that you're doing.
Yes. So what's next for you? What do you have going on? What's next? What's the next big goal? The next big goal that you have, or rather, that's, hey, I want to send my kids off to college and I want to go live in my dream house.
Yeah.
With the nicest car I could find. What's next for you?
Well, my kids already have gone to college, so I did that. That was the goal until now they're good, so they can kind of create their own goals.
Yes.
But my goal is to write for television.
Okay.
So I have a project right now that I'm working on that's going to TV next year. And I want, my love and my passion, like for myself, like my hobby is horses. And that's something that I've always, people find therapy, some people do yoga, some people do, our marathon runners. For me, when I get stressed out, I go ride my horse and I go, that's how I unwind. And that's really fed into me and helped me so much. And so my goal, I have a series I'm working on slowly that is about horses and how so many people say, "Oh, I've never seen a Black person, with a horse," and I'm like, it's out there. So since there's a disconnect and there's people that don't understand, I figured it must be up to me to write that series. And so my goal is to be, an old woman sitting on my porch with my hair braided up, watching my horses in the backyard, and writing this series that, is really about self-realization, being present, and Black people living their best lives.
Thank you for coming, man. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
That's our time. Thank you for contributing to another successful podcast. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.